Hello artists. Our next project is going to focus on color. We are going to learn the different properties of color and how to mix it and the different terms that we are using when we mix white and black into a color or we change the hue of the color. So to do this, we are going to focus on our name as the focal point of our artwork, and then we're going to be focusing on how to fill that name up and the design up with the different types of color that we're going to be learning about. So today you're going to get a white piece of paper, a pencil, and an eraser. You are going to be first creating your name and then any kind of design behind it. It is important that your design doesn't get too detailed or too little because you want to be able to take a brush and fill it in. So it might be mostly a geometric background with straight lines, or it might be more organic with curvy lines. This one I decided to make it all curvy and turn them into bubbles. It might be something that is more, like I said, geometric, so all sharp edges, straight lines. By the end of class today, your art should look like this and be ready to paint. So to begin with, for those of you that are thinking about your name and like, I don't know how to do bubble letters or even black letters, I have a trick to show you to do that. So to begin with, if I'm going to do Mrs. G, I'm actually going to first write my letter with my eraser. Now, from there, you probably can't see this too well. In fact, I can tell you can't. But down here where I'm working, I can see my Sharpie image. I'm going to, if this doesn't work, I'll show you another way actually, because I can tell in the video that you can't really see the eraser. If you go crazy light, you want to be able to erase your pencil lines on the inside. And I just write my name out. So Mrs. I'm going to do it very light because I know I want to erase this line eventually. Mrs. G. Try the eraser sometime. It is kind of interesting to draw with an eraser and then use it to as kind of a starting point. So I have Mrs. G. Now this part, I'm going to decide if I want curvy lines around my Mrs. G or straight lines. So I'm going to do curvy. I'm going to make this more of a bubble letter. So I am going to just make a bubble around the letters that I just made. Again, I want to go pretty light in case, I can see my R's, that's going to be a problem, it's too close. I want to go pretty light because in case I don't like it or I want to change it, always go light until you get it right. All right, so there's my M. Now my R here is going to have to kind of overlap. And that's okay. When we do bubble letters, sometimes they do overlap. So I have my curvy around, even my dot here. Now I can go back and erase the inside part, and I should be left with a bubble letter of the Mrs. part of my name. So when I get done with this, I'm going to go and do my G. Again, you're just creating kind of a bubble around it. It's important to kind of keep the same amount of space around that line of your letter. So I'm about 1/2 inch away from my line. I'm going to keep that distance. And here's my dot for my last name, since I didn't write my whole last name out. You can decide, as you saw my other 2 pieces of artwork, if you're going to do your first name, your last name, a nickname. So Mrs. G is kind of a nickname for me, a short name, my last name, first name. My full name is Elizabeth, so I could have tried to fit that in, but I knew that would be kind of challenging because that's a really long name. So I decided to do Beth. If you have a very long last name, you might decide you want to do your first name or vice versa. If your first name's really long and your last name's shorter, you might want to do your last name. All right, so now that I have that done, I'm going to come up with my design. So if it helps you and you want to first Sharpie your name to kind of have that stand out so you can see it, I'm okay with you guys doing this step first. Really important that you get a Sharpie that works. It really stinks when you have this awesome design that you worked on and then you get a Sharpie that's not so great. If you get a Sharpie that's just okay, sometimes it helps if you just go slow and you don't push down very hard then you can actually get them to work pretty good. But I have plenty of Sharpies that do work, so don't spend the time outlining this with a bad Sharpie. Make sure you have a good one. When I get done with this, I'm going to focus on the background. Now, like I said, I want to make sure that it doesn't get too detailed or too little, because that will be challenging to paint when we get to the painting day if I have all these tiny areas to get in there with my brush. If you like that challenge and you want a detailed, by all means, you are the artist. You can make that choice. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my pencil and come up with my design. I could make a contrast. I like the bubble letters, so maybe I want straight lines in the background, or maybe I want to do organic lines. Organic lines would be just kind of random, if I want just kind of random shapes breaking up the background. So there's a line. I could do stripes in the background. Maybe I want to do a mixture of organic and geometric type lines, breaking it up. We got bump lines. Trying to think of the different, so we had zigzag, wavy. I might do another kind of a wavy line that turns into something totally organic and different. You decide if you want it to be more like my bubbles, like something you recognize in your lines, but we're just trying to break up this shape a little bit to make other areas to paint for next week. So maybe I'll add one more kind of castle-like line that cuts across. Okay, when I feel like it's done, I might add one more. This space seems kind of big to break it up. Okay, when I feel like it's done, then I would go and I would Sharpie these lines as well. So basically you've made kind of a coloring book for yourself for when we paint the next time. And a class, it should look like this. Put it in your table folder for next week.